Nigeria in numbers, family planning. Nigeria is located in Western Africa. The current population of Nigeria is over 181 million, with the majority of the age structure being children 14 and younger, at 43% and increasing. This increasing number of young people in Nigeria is causing major problems, which we hope to attack with the NNFP. With our project, we hope to control the population growth in Nigeria. To do this, we will focus on three main sectors of life: health, poverty, and education. The NNFP will teach young people the importance of birth control techniques and the dangers of having too many children.
The rationale for the NNFP to intervene stems from two major problems: the extremely high fertility rate of 6 births per woman and the lack of education in women, causing them to be considered second-class citizens.
With a budget of $1 billion, the NNFP should be able to run for 5 years. After this time, the country should be in a better place.
One main problem that our group wants to fix is the health system in Nigeria. A study done in 2013 shows that only 9.4% of women use any type of protection while having sex. There is a need for contraception and family planning because it can cause early mortality for both infants and mothers. This is shown by the graph above comparing Nigeria and Russia. This graph shows that things have improved for Nigeria, but not significantly. There is still a significant chance that infants can die at birth, and there are a lack of doctors in the country. To fix this, our group wants to focus on the 3 A's. The first A is access. Not everyone has access to contraceptives, as the graph above shows. The second A is affordability. We believe that affordability is the key to a successful family planning. If condoms are affordable to the average family, then there would be more reasons to use it. The third A is attainability. We want to promote attainability by giving healthcare access to all people, especially those who live in rural areas. Our group wants to build mobile health clinics that are able to travel. Based on the population chart, we want to build 35 clinics to target rural areas as they do not have access to proper medical care. Right now it costs about $300,000 to create one mobile clinic. To build 35 of these, the total cost would be $10.5 million. We want to take into consideration the supplies like condoms and thermometers, which would equal to about $5 million a year for all 35 clinics. Based on this graph, doctors make $1,200 and nurses make $400 monthly. To have at least one doctor and one nurse for each mobile clinic, we would have to pay $2 million for each salary yearly. The total cost would be $7 million yearly for supplies and salaries, and $10 million as an initial cost to build these health clinics.
In addition to giving kids a good foundation of knowledge for life, school and education also promote equality, improves health, and reduces discrimination, especially for women. In these pictures, you can see the large number of students waiting to enter the school building, which is contrasted with the number of teachers at the school. There are not enough schools or teachers for the number of kids that need schooling.
It is estimated that there are about 4.7 million children that are primary school age who are not in school. With the adjusted average student-to-teacher ratio at 35:1, there would need to be an extra 135,000 classes to teach all of those kids. If the average teacher is $150 per month, it would cost roughly $48 million to pay all of the new teachers per year. We would need 27,000 classrooms, so it would cost $80.5 million to buy the land for all the new classrooms. We would give each school $10,000 to fund the building of the schools, totaling to $2.7 million.
Another main problem is the culture in the North. After colonization, education was not readily accepted and the North fell way behind on the education front. Many parents chose not to send their children to school because they needed them to work as soon as possible in order to earn money for the family. In many developed countries, parents are responsible for sending their kids to school by the compulsory education laws and can be fined or stripped of their parental rights if they do not abide. This method would not work in Nigeria because they do not have enough money to be fined and there are already too many kids without homes. Instead, there needs to be a stipend for parents who do choose to send their kids to school rather than having them join the workforce. With an incentive, they are more likely and more willing to make their children get the education they so desperately need. As a part of the loan system with the NNFP Bank, families will receive a stipend for every male and a slightly higher stipend for every female they send to school if they abide by all of the guidelines set by the NNFP. They will repay the loan after the child is out of school plus 2% interest per year, or repay the NNFP by donating time and skills such as labor to create new schools or teaching for a certain amount of time. So we will not have to pay for more teachers or laborers, so the program will end up paying for itself. This way, families will be more willing to send their kids, and especially their daughters, to school.
In order to fight the war on poverty in Nigeria, it is essential to create jobs, establish a Grameen Bank-like system, and create a middle class. Implementing our program of the NNFP Bank will allow poor villagers to be lent money in order to accomplish decisions such as sending children to school, emphasizing economic prosperity, and pledging to have small families. Implementing the NNFP Bank would provide a lending system to poor villagers in Nigeria. The amount of money lent depends on the poverty level of the area. Similar to the Grameen Bank, the NNFP Bank believes in the policy of the less you have, the more you get. Families will receive money per child per month only if they follow the NNFP guidelines that include a commitment to sending their children to school. The money given and the profits made every year could help decrease the growing poverty levels in Nigeria. By decreasing poverty, people will feel not as pressured to have such large families, and family planning can be practiced more.
With foreign aid comes risk. Corrupt governments take the donations without putting them to the appropriate use. For example, after the IMF had given the country Zaire, present-day Congo, the largest grant that any country had ever received, it is reported that Zaire's president stole at least $5 billion from the country. It is hard to give money to these countries where governments lack a sense of stability. Another implementation risk is the dependence factor. Developing countries begin to rely on the other countries to support them, but when the donations slow down, these developing countries sink right back to their roots. If teachers don't receive payments through the foreign aid, they go on strike and the children reap the consequences.